Hello students, welcome to OnForce. In previous session, we was learned gas in liquid solutions. Solute is gas, solvent is liquid. Such type of solutions we discussed. Solubility of gas in liquids and what are the factors affecting solubility of gas in liquids. We learned in that particularly effect of pressure we learn much in depth. Effect of pressure basically follows Henry's law, and we was learned that in Henry's law mass of gas dissolved is directly proportional to pressure of gas over the solution, and m is equal to k into p, where k is proportionality constant, where m is mass of the gas dissolved in the solution. And the same Henry's law, when we expressed in terms of mole fractions, we derived one more relation, that is P is equal to kH into X gas, mole fraction of gas, where P is pressure and kH is Henry's constant and mole fraction. So mole fraction of gas dissolved is proportional to pressure of the gas. Pressure over the solution of the gas is proportional to mole fraction of the gas. This relation we was learned and we derived how to get the relation. And there kH is what we call Henry's constant. In Henry's constant also we derived, and units of kH value is not constant, it depends upon the units of pressure also. Units of kH value depends upon units of pressure also. So various units we can notice. Now let us see problems based on Henry's law. How to solve that Henry's law related problems, let us see. So students, in this problem, what data is provided and what we need to calculate, let us see. Henry's law constant for solubility of nitrogen in water at 298 Kelvin is 1.0 into 10 power minus 5. 10 power 5. The mole fraction of nitrogen in air is 0.6. The number of moles of nitrogen from air dissolved in 10 mole of water at 298 Kelvin and 5 atmosphere pressure is. Here Henry's law constant 1.0 into 10 power 5. As we learned in previous session, Henry's law constant if more, its solubility, gas solubility is less. Here kH value 10 power 5, that means very high value. It indicates that solubility of nitrogen in water is much less. And here at 298 Kelvin, this problem we are going to solve, means temperature we are going to maintain constant. Provided kH value 1.0 into 10 power 5 atmosphere. And he mentioned that mole fraction of nitrogen in air, only nitrogen mole fraction provided, mole fraction of nitrogen is 0.6. So that we can write as Xn2 is equal to 0.6. Now, this is moles of nitrogen from air dissolved in 10 mole of water at 298 Kelvin and 5 atmosphere pressure. Total pressure is 5 atmosphere. So P total is 5 atmosphere. But here we need to calculate nitrogen pressure. Pressure of nitrogen is equal to, or partial pressure of nitrogen is equal to, pressure exerted by nitrogen only is equal to its mole fraction into total pressure, mole fraction of nitrogen into P total. That mole fraction given as 0.6 into 5. This is partial pressure of nitrogen. And we know Henry's law, pressure of nitrogen gas, pressure of the gas is equal to kH into mole fraction of the gas. So pressure of a gas over a solution is equal to Henry's law constant Kh into mole fraction of nitrogen. Here fraction of nitrogen or partial pressure or pressure accepted by nitrogen 0.6 into 5. So 0.6 into 5 is equal to Kh value provided 1 into 10 power 5. 1 into 10 power 5 into mole fraction of nitrogen is nothing but number of moles of nitrogen by number of moles of nitrogen plus number of moles of water. Because here it mentioned that the number of moles of nitrogen from air dissolved in 10 mole of water is asking that what number of moles of nitrogen get dissolved, right? Now, we know that number of moles of water is 10. 0.6 into 5 is 3 is equal to 3 into 10 power minus 5 is equal to number of moles of nitrogen by number of moles of nitrogen plus 10. So let us multiply number of moles of nitrogen is equal to 3 into 10 power minus 5 into number of moles of nitrogen plus 3 into 10 power minus 4. Now, you bring this number of moles of nitrogen this side, number of moles of nitrogen into 1 minus 3 into 10 power minus 5 is equal to 3 into 10 power minus 4. 1 minus 3 into 10 power minus 5 we can neglect. The number of moles of nitrogen dissolved is 3 into 10 power minus 4 moles. This is the answer. Once again, Henry's law constant for solubility of nitrogen in water at 298 Kelvin, 1.0 into 10 power 5. Henry's constant provided for nitrogen. Its value, as we learned, it's very high. It indicates that solubility of nitrogen is less. And the mole fraction of nitrogen in air is 0.6. In air is 0.6. And the number of moles of nitrogen from air dissolved in 10 mole of water at 298 Kelvin at 5 atmosphere pressure. So here Kh value we know 1.0 in 10 power 5 and mole fraction of nitrogen in air provided 0.6 and total pressure also given 5 atmosphere, and from these two we can calculate partial pressure of nitrogen as mole fraction to total pressure by using Dalton's law. Mole fraction to total pressure, that is 0.6 into 5. Here partial pressure of nitrogen is equal to Henry's law constant into mole fraction of nitrogen in the solution. So partial pressure 0.6 into 5 is equal to Henry's law constant 1 into 10 power 5 into mole fraction of nitrogen, number of moles of nitrogen by number of moles of nitrogen plus number of moles of water. Here number of moles of water provided here 10 moles you mentioned, 10 moles of water you mentioned, and 3 into 10 power minus 5. This is 3 and this if you bring this 10 power 5, this side 10 power minus 5. So 3 into 10 power minus 5 is equal to number of moles of nitrogen by number of moles of nitrogen plus 10. If we solve, we are getting number of moles of nitrogen as 3 into 10 power minus 4. So students, let us see another problem based on Henry's law. Henry's law constant for oxygen and nitrogen. Now we are considering mixture of gases. Henry's law constant for oxygen and nitrogen dissolved in water at 298 Kelvin are 2 into 10 power 9 Pascal and 5 into 10 power 9 Pascal respectively for two gases. For oxygen 2 into 10 power 9 and for nitrogen 5 into 10 power 9 Pascal respectively. Here, our earlier session we learned that more the molecular weight, more the solubility. More the solubility means it should possess less Henry's constant, right? Now let us say for oxygen and hydrogen, if you observe, for oxygen 2 into 10 power 9 Pascal, for nitrogen 5 into 10 power 9 Pascal, less value for oxygen, that means out of nitrogen and oxygen solubility is more because of less Henry's constant. And what we learn, more the molecular weight, less the solubility, and less the molecular weight, more the solubility. Sorry, more the molecular weight, more the solubility. More the molecular weight, more the solubility, less the Henry's constant. Right? Now, a sample of water at a temperature just above 273 Kelvin was established in equilibrium with the air. The air consists 20% of oxygen, 80% of nitrogen, and the total pressure exerted is 1 atmosphere. Mention that 1 atmosphere total pressure, of which 20% is oxygen, 80% is nitrogen. Right? Now the dissolved gas was separated from a sample of this water and dried, and determine the composition of the gas. Now, basically in this problem we are considering mixture of gases, oxygen and nitrogen. Both are having pH values like this, and this one we are going to establish. We are going to prepare, or we are going to make an equilibrium establishment, and resultant we are getting some solution. From that solution gases are separated, and if we separate the gases, what are the composition of the two gases? This is the question. Let us see here. KH for oxygen given as 2 into 10 power 9 Pascal. Regarding oxygen, what information give? KH. Similarly, KH for nitrogen given as 5 into 10 power 9 Pascal. And KH we know. We want partial pressure of oxygen is equal to total pressure 1 atmosphere, of which oxygen is 20%. So 20 by 100 into 1, that is equal to 0.2 atmosphere. So 0.2 atmosphere we need to convert into Pascal, as we know that 1 atmosphere is equal to 101.325 Pascal. So 0.2 atmosphere, 0.2 into 101.325 Pascal. So we know KH for oxygen and partial pressure of oxygen we know here. And from these two we can calculate the amount fraction of oxygen. The amount fraction of oxygen is equal to, that is nothing but XO2. As we know in Henry's law, partial pressure of oxygen is equal to KH into mole fraction of oxygen. From that, mole fraction of oxygen is equal to partial pressure of oxygen by KH. Partial pressure of oxygen by KH of oxygen. So that is partial pressure of oxygen is 0.2 into 101.325 by 2 into 10 power 9. We are getting the amount fraction of oxygen. Similarly here, partial pressure of nitrogen, 80% of 1 atmosphere, that is 0.8 atmosphere. Again we need to convert it to pascals. Again 1 atmosphere is 101.325 Pascal. 0.8 into 101.325 Pascal. So here also we know partial pressure of nitrogen and Henry's constant both we know. So from these two we can calculate amount fraction of nitrogen as amount fraction of nitrogen is equal to partial pressure of nitrogen by KH of nitrogen. So that is partial pressure of nitrogen 0.8 into 101.325 by KH of nitrogen here 5 into 10 power 9 Pascal. So far we are having amount fraction of both oxygen and nitrogen. So if you solve it here, you are getting 0.1 into 101.325 by 10 power 9. This 10 power 9 if it goes to numerator 10 power minus 9. Then this value 10.13 into 10 power minus 6. Similarly, here this one is 0.8 by 5, that means 0.16, that means 16.21 into 10 power minus 6. So we are having that amount fraction of oxygen and amount fraction of nitrogen. Now the ratio of these two, amount fraction of O2 by amount fraction of nitrogen is equal to 10.13 into 10 power minus 6 by 16.212 into 10 power minus 6. So this value we are getting 0.62 by 1. That means now we ask that determine the composition of the gas which is dissolved in water, right? So percentage of oxygen is equal to here oxygen percentage 0.62, both oxygen and nitrogen 0.62 plus 1 means total is 1.62. ratio we got amount fraction of oxygen and nitrogen as 0.62 by 1. That means total is 1.62. Now percentage of oxygen is 0.62 by 1.62 into 100. Around we are getting 38%. 38% is oxygen and remaining 62% is nitrogen. 38% is oxygen and remaining 62% is nitrogen. So hope you got this point, this concept clear. First problem we learned that only one gas is there. In such a case, what amount of gas dissolved, what is the mole fraction? And in this case, when we are having a mixture of gases, so here both oxygen and nitrogen, both gases are there. When both gases are going to dissolve in water, how much amount of gas are going to dissolve, that depending upon their partial pressures, with the percentage. From percentage we are getting partial pressure. From partial pressure and Henry's constant, we can calculate how much amount of oxygen and nitrogen getting dissolved in water, and from that we are getting the ratio. That ratio we got 0.62 by 1, and percentage of oxygen if you want 0.62 by 1.62 into 100. If you want percentage of nitrogen, you can calculate 1 by 1.62 into 100. So we are getting percentage of oxygen in dissolved water is 38%, and for nitrogen it is 62%. So students, so far we learned gases as a solute and a liquid as a solvent. Means gas in liquid type of solutions, and for that Henry's law, and based on Henry's law, numericals. Now in liquid solutions, solid in liquid type of solutions. In solid in liquid type of solutions, solid is solute, and liquid solvent, solid solute, liquid solvent, and gives a solution. So first point here we should remember whether a particular solid is going to dissolve in the particular liquid or not. That depends upon two factors. One is lattice energy. This is the energy what we need to provide to break the crystal lattice, and another one is hydration energy. This is the energy what we are getting upon after breaking of crystal lattice into constituent ions, and that ions gets hydrated. Because of ions hydrated, we are getting certain amount of energy, and that amount of energy, if more than the lattice energy, lattice energy means the energy what was provided to break the crystal lattice. Simply here lattice energy is positive and hydration energy is negative. Lattice energy is what energy we need to provide, just like our investment, and hydration energy is the energy what we are getting, just like returns. For a business, if more investment less returns, then the business is not going to good, right? And if more returns less investment, then we can say that business is good. Just like that, your business means solubility. So more solubility, less solubility. When we are expecting more solubility, if lattice energy is less, hydration energy is more. Means what energy we need to provide, that must be less, and what energy we are how to get, that must be more. In such a case, we can say that compound is more soluble. And if lattice energy is more and hydration energy is less, in such a case we can say compound is less soluble. So lattice energy, if more than hydration energy, then we can say compound is insoluble or less soluble. If lattice energy is less than hydration energy, then we can say compound is soluble. And by dissolving a particular solid in a particular solvent or proper solvent, we are getting a solid in liquid type of solution. Now, what amount of solute can be dissolved in a particular amount of solvent at a given temperature? If that much amount of solute dissolved, then such solution what we call is saturated solution. I am repeating once again. what amount of solute or solid can be dissolved at a particular temperature in the given quantity of solvent. If that much amount of solute dissolved, then that what we call saturated solution. If not that much amount of solute dissolved, then such solution what we call unsaturated solution. Means right now we learn 2 points. One is unsaturated solution, another one is saturated solution. Unsaturated solution, what amount of solute can be dissolved, that much not going to dissolve. And saturated solution, what amount of solute can be dissolved, that much it dissolved. Right. Now, if with increasing temperature, generally more amount of solute can be dissolved. Resultant we are getting solution what we call supersaturated solution. Supersaturated solution. Right. Now, I am going to consider one solution at a given temperature like room temperature. I used to consider a solvent. Imagine that is nothing but water. In this I am going to dissolve sugar. Sugar solid. I am going to dissolve in water. And first I used to place 1 spoon of sugar, got dissolved, and second one, third one, fourth one. After adding a little more amount of sugar, we notice that there are few sugar particles are going to remain. Means sugar crystals still remains in the solution. Means we can see that. That means here what extent of sugar can be dissolved, that extent already dissolved, and excess amount what was added, that still remains there only. Now, this what we call, if you observe that, it looks like the sugar particles, whatever was added, that still remains there only. Alright? But practically, these particles are not in consistent manner in the solution. Still, there is an equilibrium established in between the sugar molecules which gets dissolved and the sugar molecules which remains in undissolved state. I am repeating, still looks like sugar particles remains there at the bottom of the vessel, right? But what I am saying here, these particles are not inconsistent. These are not only the particles which remains or which not take part in the solution. These particles, these sugar particles or these sugar crystals also going to take part in the solution, because there is an equilibrium established in between two processes. What is the two processes? First one is the process when we are adding sugar to this liquid, there will dissolution happens, means that what we call a dissolution of the sugar. And whenever more and more amount of sugar we added, then what happened? Reverse process, reverse to that dissolution, what we call a crystallization. Dissolution and crystallization, there are two processes. That two, in between the two processes, means whenever the two process rate are equal, then we can say there is an establishment of equilibrium. That means at equilibrium we can say, at equilibrium rate of dissolution is equal to rate of crystallization. Rate of dissolution is equal to rate of crystallization. So both things, both the reactions happen, dissolution and crystallization, both are happen. And at a saturated solution stage, these two we can notice. In case of unsaturated solution stage, only dissolution takes place, there is no more crystallization. And this one happens after formation of saturated solution. Now, what are the factors influence dissolution of a solid in a liquid? Let us see factors affecting dissolution of solid in liquid. Then first one is nature of solute and solvent. Nature of solute and solvent. And the second one is, what about pressure? Do you notice any effect of pressure here? And third one is temperature. There are three factors where what we learn, dissolution of a solid in liquid. We are going to learn three factors. First one, nature of solute and solvent. So, as per like dissolves like principle, polar compounds, polar solutes and polar substances are going to dissolve in polar solvents. Non-polar substances preferably going to dissolve in non-polar solvents. So as per like dissolves like principle, polar substances are preferably soluble in polar solvents and non-polar compounds are preferably soluble in non-polar solvents. And we can say the same, we can give another explanation. Like, so suppose an ionic compound A and B is there, and a ionic compound A and B is there. So AB is ionic compound in which A plus and B minus, A plus and B minus means cation A plus and anion B minus, and because of it is ionic compound, there is an electrostatic force of attraction existing between these two ions, cation and anion. Then when we are going to place in a polar solvents, nothing but those solvents which are having high dielectric constant. So what is meant by dielectric constant? The ability of a solvent to weaken the electrostatic force of attraction in between two opposite charged ions. The ability of a solvent to weaken the force of attraction between two ions, that what we call dielectric constant. Here, dielectric constant more containing solvents, just like water, whose dielectric constant is around 80. So almost all compounds are soluble in water. Now, ionic compound I used to consider AB, in which A plus and B minus, in between these two electrostatic force of attraction exists. Now when we are going to place in a solvent, which type of solvent? Those solvents which are having high dielectric constant, then what happened? It is able to solvate or hydrate both cation and anion. Resultant, this cation and anion are going to dissolve or can be dissolved. That means ionic compounds are preferably soluble in the solvents which are having high dielectric constant. Let us consider, instead of polar compound or ionic compound, if we consider non-polar compound like camphor or any other non-polar compound which is insoluble in solvent which are having high dielectric constant like water. So here what happened? Polar, like dissolves like. Polar compounds are soluble in polar solvents. Non-polar compounds are soluble in non-polar solvents. See. Now let us see. Barium sulfate. If you observe, barium sulfate Ba2 plus SO4 2 minus. So barium sulfate also consists cation and anion Ba2 plus and SO4 2 minus, and it is also ionic compound. So can we expect its solubility in water? No, because of here lattice energy is very high. Because of high lattice energy, even though ionic compound, because of high lattice energy, what happened? Its solubility is less. That's why barium sulfate still sparingly soluble in water. We are going to learn as sparingly soluble in water. That means, again, first principle, if lattice energy is more, then compound is insoluble. So here, nature of solute and solvent. In addition to that, which solvent we are going to use, whether polar or non-polar. NaCl is more ionic compound. If you assume that non-polar solvent like carbon tetrachloride or ether, in such a case NaCl is not going to dissociate or not going to dissolve there, right? That because of that, even though compound is polar compound, we consider solvent as non-polar solvent. In such a case, dissolution do not take place. And one more point here, sugar is covalent. So many covalent compounds can be dissolved in water. Here, dissolution by two factors. One, dissolution as a molecule, and dissolution by splitting into ions. So when split into ions, that happens in case of ionic compounds. So ionic compounds, when dissolving in water, they split into ions and they get solvated. Whereas sugar particles are going to dissolve, just disperse in water, and still it remains as sugar particle. It do not undergo any ionization.